Right, so today we're going to be going over the couple of builds we did last year, which was the prawn pot and the basket pots. So how did they get on? Well, to be honest, they didn't do well. Now that doesn't mean they didn't catch, they did catch. Because at the moment I've just got them randomly dumped in the middle of the bay, and the chances of catching here are very slim. You do get occasional things, but it's not a great spot. As he says that, pulls up a lobster in the basket pot. Maybe the spice isn't so bad. We'll find out the next one. So, one to the blue basket now. Might drop these back here actually then if they catch another one. Let's see. Oh, the wire's been pulled off on this one. Yeah, so let me see. Just slide it down. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. A nice lobster in the blue basket pot. And this is that's a legal lobster, easily. Nice male. So that's one to the grey pot and now one to the blue pot. So it's 1-1. Lobster in this one. This is somewhere I don't really pot in this bit here. Like a new experiment. Nothing in that one. There you go, one lobster. It's only a small one, but lobster. And just slide it down here. Bigger one. Three-bearded rockling, that one. You can see that. Pretty cool. That's the trouble, it's so slimy. Let me put him back. And away he goes. They eat crab and that. Those they'll pretty much eat anything, to be honest. For their size, they're quite aggressive little things. So as you would have seen, they did catch lobsters. They didn't catch an awful lot. Now, I haven't got all the footage. Some of the footage is still sort of lost, you might say, amongst everything else. But I put up bits and pieces just to show you. Now, why didn't they do so well? If you remember, I think it was last year, we did another pot. I did another basket pot. and an old washing basket. But there you go, this is our next day's catch. We've got one little one, which I'm going to throw over the side. He'll find his way, and this one is definitely size, and a size one. So that's our second lobster in, what's that, 3-4 lifts, is it now? Something like that, 3 or 4 lifts. Now that pot did really well. That caught a lot of lobster in that pot. And I'm pretty sure I know what the issue is with the difference of the pots and why one will catch and one doesn't catch. And it was the same years ago. I used to make basket pots for crab and that, and it was the same thing. There's one difference in these pots which I didn't have at the time. What that difference is the actual basket. Now, the basket on these, you see, it has very large holes, and this here is very, very smooth. Now, I think the lobsters have a trouble climbing up the pot, because the lobsters, although you think the lobsters have sort of got a tail that swims, it still crawls around the bottom. The tail is more of a kicking, escaping. A prawn will sort of swim, but a lobster always pretty much stays on the bottom, uses its tail. Obviously when it drops off things it can motor a bit and that, like glide almost, but in general they stay on the bottom, so they still climb. Now when it tried to climb up here, I think that it just couldn't get its feet on this very well. Even here these holes are very big, and I don't think their feet would grip onto this very well. Hence why this one has got a net on it. Now the net I put on later on as another test. I put the pod out and then the weather broke down and we never got the test completed, so I pretty much dumped it, and I didn't actually bait it. I was running out of bait, so I didn't bait it for a few days, and then when I finally could do it, the weather started to go wrong and that, and I was too busy with other things, so we never completed this. So I'll put it out again next year possibly, and we'll just see with the net on if it will work. But I think that's the main problem, is the pot is too shiny. They just can't, and then when they get up to here, their feet just aren't gripping very well to get over stuff. The lobsters we caught, it might have been weed that's washed over it, or it might have been against a reef where the lobster crawled onto it, as opposed to just in the open where it's got to climb up. So I think that was one of the main issues. Another issue, I think, are these holes, because I noticed on, I don't know if I can show it on this one, because this was a later one that went out, and the one that actually I had did get destroyed. I said destroyed, it got damaged. I took it in and dumped it. I had one end one day where the lobster had actually broken the pot open. It had got, because their claws can fit through these holes, they went in and they basically cut this open, and I think it was a big lobster that did it, and it broke the end of the pot. Now if you'd seen the old pots, or the old pot we did, the original basket one, the red one, it only had very small holes, and that worked really, really well. And I think that's all it was just this particular basket. So what we can learn from this is that if you use a basket like this, use one with small holes, not these great big holes, and not a shiny one like this. Use one that's actually got a proper smaller mesh, baskety mesh kind of thing, because those ones do catch really well. And like I say, as a kid I used to use washing baskets, and most of them at that time did have that kind of mesh, smaller holes, and they always caught well. But these ones definitely didn't do well, so avoid baskets with big holes, shiny sides. And like I say, this has been covered in net to see if it would catch, but obviously the test never got completed. Right, let's go on to this one. I need to lift it up a bit because the camera is on low down. So this one was another one we built. This is our prawn pot. Now, it didn't get any prawns. You saw, there is a video a lot of you will have seen where we took this pot and I showed you what it had caught. And for the benefit of those who didn't actually see that, I'll just show you a couple of clips now. There you go, first drop of the prawn pot. Just with a small neck, a little bit of mackerel in there, just in a bag there. 24 hours, not even 24 hours. And look at that, eh? I mean, there's a lot. That's a nice big lobster. That's over legal size easily. But look at that one that was in there with it. That's huge. Grabs the net. Come on. Look at that. That's a cracking lobster. But that's not the big one. I wonder if I can get the big one through this net. Look at that! In a prawn pot! Now, as you saw, this thing was amazing. This thing caught so well. Didn't catch prawns at the time though, it was catching the lobsters. Now, prawn wise, I didn't put this pot out until, I don't think this went in the water till August. It was only down for a few weeks and it had a lot of lobster. Now, when the prawns sort of come in, as you would have seen maybe from a video that we did just a little while ago, probably would have been just a little while ago, when we went down the beach we had lots of prawns. The prawns come in late, tend to be late summer, autumn time that you get the prawns, or the decent sized prawns. And this basically wasn't down that long because we had to pull out early this year. I put the pot down, it was down for a few weeks. Then we had a massive storm, and I don't know if you can see, I'll just grab the camera for this, but we had a massive storm. I thought this pot would have been completely destroyed in that storm. As it turns out, we ended up with a couple of holes. You see there, and one down here, which did some damage. And there might be another one somewhere, maybe this side. I don't know. But anyway, it took a little bit of damage. It took almost no damage, as far as I was concerned, because like I say, for the storms we had, I actually lost a couple of pots and had a couple of pots destroyed by the storm. But this thing survived perfectly fine. So we know it's a decent enough design to withstand storms. The only thing is like I say, is this damage here. Now, because they're so good, we're going to build some more of these, and what I'm going to do is I will build, like you'll see the base here. I'll show you again close up. You'll see here that this wood here, this sort of sleddy kind of thing, took the damage from when it was dragged around in possibly storms or got moved, or bashing rocks, that kind of thing, or even when you're just lifting it up. You'll see a bit of damage there, nothing bad. You'll also see this net I put on the bottom. This is a damn good idea because you'll see that even the net here took some damage from rocks and things as it was bouncing, but the inside net stayed perfectly fine. So the idea in the next pot will be, probably with this green next, it's a thinner one, is I will do the inside like this, but then I'll coat it with a layer of crab pot net. And that has two functions. One, it'll protect the net. Plus two, if the net does get worn out, get damaged, you've instantly got just a small crab pot. And that leads me on to the next bit, which is I'm going to do a pot without this, not a prawn net, but with crab pot net. So we're just going to make these into like lobster pots. I say crab pot, lobster pot is what I meant to say really. Yeah, we're going to target lobster with them, with the small nets, because we do know that they catch really well. You won't get the biggest of lobsters in here, like the real giants, but you don't often catch those anyway, so it's not a big sort of loss really. So we'll do, like I say, same design, and hopefully we'll catch a lot of lobsters, because the thing with these is they're much lighter, you see. I say lighter, they're not lighter, but they're much smaller, much easier to work with. And with the new boat, with whatever engine we're going to have, whether it's that or the other one, we're going to be faster. Which means we can shoot off to places, into different locations, take a couple of these with us, drop them off, go back the next day, pick them up. That sort of thing. Whereas the big pots, they tend to go out, they get put in a place and they tend to stay there for weeks. They might get moved occasionally, but they tend to sort of stay in the same sort of area. The size of them moving around is just a bit of a pain. Like I say, I do move them occasionally. But with this system, with the new pots, being smaller, we can carry more of these. We could, you know, if I go somewhere and put a pot, I like to put sort of probably 4 pots. Putting 2 pots, you know, you might just get unlucky and not catch, and then you think the area is not great. But if you put 4 pots down, then you should catch something with the 4 pots. And if you don't see anything caught, then you know to move your pots. So like I say, we can shoot around it. We might better take some of these, if we do prawn ones, to different areas. Possibly that will hold prawns better than where I am at the moment. The trouble with where I am at the moment is you get a lot of rockfish in that area. And because it's a lot of rock and weed, and obviously rockfish like to feed on prawns. Now you do get prawns around there, of course, but yeah, like I say, we just needed to be down later really, I believe. And not only that, I was having trouble with this bait. You see, they've actually, I don't know if you can show you that, but where the bait goes in this little bag, you'll see they've actually torn a hole through it. That's the lobster doing that. So I need to come up with a better bait hold. Same idea, that idea worked really well, and I just need to make it stronger with some stronger netting, and there, in fact, we've got a hole there as well now, you see. So it does need some fine tuning, but this was the first time we built this particular design of this pot. So it was only a test pot, and it does need some more protection on it. But God, this caught, I don't know how many lobsters this caught, but in comparison to the other pots, it probably caught a lot more. If you'd left it out all year and it caught the way it was catching, it would have probably doubled the amount of lobsters that the other pots were catching, and those pots catch a lot of lobsters. So yeah, I was really pleased with this pot. It just needs a bit of refining. And not only that, if these pots catch better than the big pots, then, well, they use less materials for a start. If the crab pot design, the net design works with the crab pot net, as opposed to the shrimp knot for a lobster, then we're on to a winner. And of course, the prawn pot design for catching prawns, well, we're still going to keep going with that, because like I say, prawns move around, and some years you'll get no prawns in an area, and the next year you'll get loads, because they sort of migrate around all the time. So it's just getting onto them, that's the issue with it. Plus, it's always interesting to see what else you can catch in these little pots. But we might make a slightly different design as well. We might make a lower one, like quite low, so that if prawns go on, they don't have to go up so high, this sort of thing. But it's all ideas. But yeah, extremely successful, the prawn pot one for lobster. And that one, not so much. There we go. I've just reinforced this. I've put another layer of netting along the base part here, because this is where there was some wear on one side, so I thought I'd do both sides. I've put extra strings on these bars to protect there, because there was obviously damage there. And that's kind of it really. I just messed around with this a bit, tied up the hole, because there was a hole where the prawns could have come out through there, and just generally went over it. Like I say, added a few screws in the base and that, a few extra ones where I think they need it. I think that bumper thing works quite well. Anyway, I've had to think about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build at least, well, I'm going to build one like this again, but what I'll do is I'll probably do this net, and then I will try crab pot net over it, like I said. So that'll be that one. I'll do one of those. I'll do one just with crab pot net. I might make two actually, crab pot ones without the prawn net, just to see if they catch as good as the ones with the small holes. And I want to do another prawn net one, which I might just do a double net, but I might make it lower to the ground. Theory being is prawns don't want the prawns, sort of make it easier for prawns to go up onto it, because being high, they might be a bit wary about coming up so high into the open. And we'll try that. And we'll put them out for the whole year, or most of the year, because like I say, the other pot, this pot, it only went out for a few weeks. And I mean, it got remarkable results for lobster. Although prawns, like I say, prawns is really later in the year. Although we'll put them out and we'll just bang a few around, and we'll, like I say, hopefully be able to travel a lot further. Maybe get into the areas where there are some more prawns at that time of year, because like I say, different areas it varies. Probably to do with how many rockfish and things you got in the area. A lot of rockfish, probably not so many prawns. Unless, probably a lot more prawns. I don't know. We'll see.